What's up? So the Fortnite Season 2 live event is going to be here in less than 2 days. And so if you guys want to watch the event live with me, I will be streaming it starting 1 hour before the actual event. And depending on your time zone, this is when the event will be starting. And so anyways, what I wanted to do today is talk about storyline. The Chapter 2 storyline has been a whole lot more consistent than the first chapter, and there's a ton of players that are important to it. But there's also some old faces that may not be completely out of this story yet. And so what I want to do today is look at the top 10 most important characters to the Fortnite storyline. And lastly, before we do get into it, if you guys could please subscribe to the channel and help us reach our goal of 3 million subscribers, that would be most appreciated. Now let's get into it. All right, so coming in at number 10 here, we've got a bit of a wild card, but this is actually Meows Holes. So there are tons of supporting characters throughout the Fortnite storyline that I think could have taken this number 10 spot, but the reason that I'm putting Meows Holes here is that I still think he has a part to play. So Lynx has turned out to be an absolutely interesting character within the Fortnite storyline. We first saw her in Chapter 1, Season 7, and we just sort of thought that she was a whatever skin, not related to storyline at all. But it was confirmed in Chapter 2, Season 2 that Lynx has had a connection to Meows Holes since all the way back in Season 7. There was a loading screen leaked that actually showed Meows Holes in it. And then in Season 2 with the Battle Pass release, it was confirmed that there is a love interest between Lynx and Meows Holes. And then it's also confirmed that she is an agent of Ghost or Ego. So why is this important? Well, in Midas's character animation, we actually see the gold mask of Lynx, which implies that Midas killed her. And since Deadpool has taken over the yacht, Meows Holes has been moved to the box factory where he can actually be seen crying, which to me sounds like he is probably grieving over the death of Lynx. And so with this knowledge, I think it is very possible that Meows Holes may actually play a part in attempting to undermine Midas. He's obviously got a grudge against him now, and this may lead to Midas's downfall. But regardless of what's going to happen, I think that Meows Holes is going to have a part to play, and we should definitely watch out for him. Now, moving on to our number 9 and 8 spot, this is going to be the Ice King and Prisoner. So these are two old characters that actually played a huge part in getting us to where we are today. The Ice King came to our original island and accidentally released the Prisoner. The Prisoner then created a volcano, which accidentally broke Polar Peak and revealed a giant monster. The giant monster then attempted to destroy the 0-point sphere, and Singularity had to defend it, but ultimately it became unstable. Whole bunch of other stuff happens, and that is what ultimately leads us to Chapter 2. So while I don't really imagine that the Ice King or Prisoner are going to return to the Chapter 2 storyline, they are really integral players of how we got here. And so, yeah, we shouldn't forget about them. Anyways, moving on to our number 7 spot, this is going to be Oro. So Oro is one of the more mysterious Fortnite skins to exist. And so Oro's origin and intent are both incredibly unknown. But what we do know is he is incredibly connected to the player Midas. So first and foremost, these skins both have scars over the exact same eye. And they also have strong connections to gold. So some people speculate that Oro literally is Midas. But others also propose that Oro is some sort of devil or god, and basically how he is working is through possessing Midas. It's also possible that he is a future reincarnation of Midas, as his set is called Midas's Revenge. Or it could even just be a symbolic reference, in a sense that Midas is so obsessed with power and gold that ultimately all he really is just a walking corpse. Regardless though, Oro has incredibly strong connections to one of the most important characters to the Fortnite storyline, Midas, and because of this, I think Oro is, in and of himself, important. So definitely another character to watch out for with the upcoming season. Now, moving on to our number 6 spot, we gotta talk about Paradigm. So Paradigm in and out of herself didn't do a ton, yet she is still integral to understanding the Fortnite storyline. Which, by the way, may I add, I am finally working on a part 2 to the big Fortnite storyline video we did back in August. That'll be out sometime after the launch of season 3. Anyway, Paradigm is part of one of the 7 who we know are actual players within Fortnite Chapter 2. But the reason that Paradigm was so important is that she was essentially the missing piece of information that we needed. Paradigm essentially confirmed that the 7 are just all different variants of the exact same character from alternate timelines, and that's the Visitor. Once the Scientist was introduced, there were theories about this, but Paradigm essentially confirmed this. And of course, also she played a huge role in helping to contain the 0-point sphere. Now, it has been confirmed that the 7 are working with Ego, and this will be all explained in that big storyline video, but yeah, she's still possibly very important. Whether we see the 7 working as a group together or perhaps her individually is still unknown, but she was a huge player and still has a potential role to play. Now, moving on to our number 5 spot, another character I didn't want us to forget about is Singularity. That's kind of cool because there are some theories going around still that Singularity actually is Paradigm. It would actually make sense because Singularity came through the in-between, which is like a portal between alternate timelines. But obviously Singularity was a hugely important character as she essentially saved the 0-point sphere from that monster. She didn't do the greatest job with it, and obviously the Scientist had to fix things, but yeah. We also have no idea where Singularity went when she flew away in her rocket. And if she actually is Paradigm, it's very possible again that she's working with the rest of the 7 to just do some things behind the scenes. Now, moving on to our number 4 spot, I want to talk about the Kaos Agent. Another one of the more mysterious skins of Fortnite. So the Kaos Agent was the founder and leader of the group Alter, who we see throughout season 1. He worked to create Big Chuggus along with an army of sludges and also affected the weather itself. He was the guy who was responsible for the big snowstorm. But we see in Midas's character animation that he actually has the mask of the Kaos Agent. And we haven't seen the Kaos Agent in season 2 yet, despite Shadow and Alter still working quite a bit. So this is a character with a whole bunch of control that might be dead, but it's entirely possible that he is still alive. The Kaos Agent has 2 selectable styles, and one of them is him without his mask. So it's possible this is explaining that perhaps Midas tried to kill him, but he survived. And again, it's entirely possible that the Kaos Agent is still alive, working in the shadows to ultimately undermine Midas. It's hard to say for sure, but this was a super important character for season 1, and I wouldn't be surprised if we see him popping up again. Now, moving on to our number 3 spot. Of course, this video wouldn't be complete if we didn't talk about the Visitor. The Visitor is our timeline's Visitor. That's why we call him the Visitor. The Visitor is responsible for essentially every single event that has happened in Fortnite. Since the start of the storyline, the meteor crashed into Earth and that brought with it the Visitor. We had Organization X. This was the secret sort of unknown group that was operating around the original map. They were transporting all of the Hop Rocks to what people thought was a fake missile, but it was actually a real one. The Visitor hijacked it at the last second and basically used the energy of the rifts to teleport out into the in-between and save our island. So yeah, pretty important. But who I think is more important in coming in at number 2 is the Scientist. The Scientist is the most important alternate timeline of the Visitor. So the Scientist did the exact same thing in another timeline. But when the 0-point sphere exploded and a giant merging of all these timelines were together, it was the Scientist who somehow found himself in the meteor, caught in time. He then worked to set up the rift zones around the map so that he could communicate with the rest of the 7, ultimately containing the 0-point sphere. The Scientist literally saved the universe, and I almost feel bad only putting him at number 2 because of that. But the reason that I'm going to put Midas at our number 1 spot is that he still so obviously has a role to play. Midas is probably the coolest character we've seen in Fortnite so far, as he is very gray. He's gold, but he's a gray character. He is the leader of Ego and Ghosts and possibly set up that entire organization. And he's also been on the island for quite some time, as it was revealed that his house was the Island House. Like he actually lived at the center of the map, quite possibly before we even came to this world. He also created the agency. But yeah, he's a really great character. He's done some seemingly bad things like potentially kill off characters, but we're also wondering what he's working towards. It's just very unclear what his goal actually is. He's created a doomsday device and it seems like it's going to bring a flood to the island. But what we know for sure is over the last few days, he has been powering it up. And presumably on Saturday at 2 p.m. Eastern, this is when things are going to go off, and we're probably going to see what Midas's grand plan is. Now, there was a skin leaked called Cyclo, which seems to be basically a suit which can be seen in Midas's office. So it's very likely that Cyclo is literally Midas wearing that suit. And a lot of people are speculating that this suit is going to give him powers to control the storm, just like the skin in Tempest. But even further than that, something I've been toying with the idea with, and if you guys have watched my big storyline video, is that what if Midas is Organization X? It's very possible that it could be the Kaos Agent as well, but I want to bring it back there for a second. See, in chapter 1, there is this like completely unknown group. They've got vehicles and helicopters and all this stuff working around the map, and we literally have no idea who they are. They have no face whatsoever, which is why I call them Organization X. And while we knew for sure is that they were very likely trying to access the vault, which contains 0-point spheres. Now, it's revealed at the end of season 10 that the 7 had contact with the group Ego, and wouldn't you know it, that's Midas. So that sort of leads me to believe that perhaps Midas is not Organization X. And I almost wonder if this timeline has a vault just below the agency or that house, just like our original world did with Loot Lake. It would make sense. And that leads me to wonder, what if Midas is actually protecting the vault? What if he's like another Singularity? It's entirely possible. And if that was the case, then perhaps Kaos Agent was actually the leader of this Organization X all along. Shadow is converging on the agency, perhaps in an attempt to gain access to a vault. That's just speculation, guys, but I want to know what you think of that theory. That's kind of my going theory right now, as I see it, but once we get more information, it'll probably be a little bit more clear. Anyway, though, again, I will be streaming the event live Saturday starting at 1 p.m. Eastern, so make sure to subscribe if you haven't and watch out for that. Anyway, thank you guys so much for making it through this video. I hope you enjoyed, and yeah, I'm really excited for some more Fortnite content. Peace out, you freaking nerds. Oh, and lastly, go subscribe to my new Minecraft channel. Me and Roman are crushing it. We've got the best Minecraft channel on YouTube. So just go subscribe. It's fantastic. Anyway, that's it. Bye. Here we go. There's construction going down below. There's always construction.